Are we live? And we're looking at the Linux. Oh, oh well. Um, all right. Well, welcome back. This is actually if you haven't seen, I did a test video last night, pretty late, and I think it went well overall. Oh, I do remember I need to speak up. This headphone microphone combination isn't the best. Of course, then again, like I said, I was broadcasting super late, so um, yeah, let's see. Make sure. So yeah, session 42. We are streaming. That is one thing. Like I kind of wait for my phone to light up with like the mobile dashboard. But anyways, I have that's why I did this setup is because now I have my good computer, my good laptop, with an actual studio, so I can do video. I can do the screen capture. Don't get me wrong, PlayStation is awesome. I just did a Diablo stream a little while ago, but yeah. Anyways, this is the beginning tutorial for all the videos that I want to do for my project, open source computer science, and really just kind of what I want to do for side work, just kind of giving back. But anyways, uh, I kind of jumped right into it last night. How we just started doing challenges that I've completed on Code Wars, and we'll get back to that very shortly. I just wanted to make sure I had a video uploaded. Um, and also, that's why I didn't tag coding game in the title in this one, although be prepared, that's going to be the title for a lot of them, and there's my mobile dashboard. So, anyways, yeah, just because that links me to coding game. So, any other coders associated with that website, have accounts over there. Really fun site. I'm just getting started out in it. And actually, I plan on doing some clashes too. Sorry, a little dusty, but I'm about 50-50 though. So, and I would classify myself as a still beginner to intermediate computer scientist. So, definitely not an expert. Watch these videos and you see my code. It's not the cleanest. I mean, it is pretty clean though. Like I strive to make it look appealing, like industry standards, stuff like that. So everything I'm teaching here is actually what you can expect in the real world. I've had really only the one software development job, but even that experience, just kind of showed me what's desired, what's you know, yeah, what's desired as far as developing code in the real world. So let me take care of a couple of things. So we are to make sure. Oh, and wait, am I doing? Sorry, I'm checking out the stream just to make sure where we're at. And double check the real world. Once I get better at video editing and stuff, I'll just chop this first thing off. All right, science and technology. We're good. Okay, so since we did kind of just jump in all willy-nilly last night to actual coding, and more importantly, Linux. So, like, you might have noticed, this even looks a little funky for people who are familiar with most flavors or versions of Linux. This is what they call Kali Linux, and this is actually cybersecurity level operating system technology, but be advised, if you go and seek this out on your own, a lot of the stuff on it can be considered illegal. So don't, just be careful with what you're doing. Keep it white hat. That's actually one of my first comments in in all my video series is keep it white hat. I mean, whatever you do, just do the whole golden rule. Like, would you want this done to you? Like, would you feel violated if this was being done to you? Um, and also, if you don't own it, then don't mess with it, basically. Don't try to tweak system settings or anything like that. You would never do that on Google. I mean, they would catch you right away and get in trouble. I mean, there's a bunch of, kind of funny horror stories, like one about MySpace getting hacked on accident. Um, but the guy's still doing Fed time. So, just be aware of that. Anyways, so that's my little spiel about why this looks different. I might switch to Mint. That's what I was kind of owing at the very beginning of the video. Is I got all this set up, and I really like Kali because it does stuff like this. I think Mint does the window split like this as well. But anyways, this way I can have my notes. Can have a couple of, and this is the terminal. So these are all terminal windows. I got four, like a four square right here. And I wanted to go through Linux because Linux is very crucial if you're going to try to study computer science. or get good at coding or anything like that, Linux is almost like required. So it's a free open source operating system like Windows or Apple, and this is what it looks like. And it's got a web browser, usually has Firefox, and then it's got a ton of other tools. But this is the most important. This is the command line interface, or the terminal, or the Q terminal, as you see here. Whatever it's called, this is command line, basically. And it's also called bash, which stands for born again shell. And technically, these are all shells, if you really want to get down to it in Linux speak. So you're spinning up shells every time you click this little icon, the terminal emulator. See, not even, yeah, to use the command line. And this is available on all Linux, and actually it's available on Windows too. Windows has its own version of command line. Mac is Linux based, so I believe they have a terminal built in. I don't use Mac a lot, sorry. But I grew up on Windows, and then I learned for my degree in Linux. So, anyways, I have some notes here, and this is a program called Vim, and that's actually on here. It's right there. Vim is a text editor that is also available. Well, it's also so Vim is the most common version of VI. Ah, thanks for the follow, my code. But anywho, so Vim is what I'll be using. I also have Nano listed here because, and just recently in this boot camp I did for cybersecurity, my professor pointed out that while Nano is easier, quote unquote, for people to learn, it's not readily available on every distribution of Linux, so you got to be careful with that. Um, yeah, so um, so I just have it on there as it's an option sometimes, but you'll want to use Vim. I mean, it's actually pretty painless after you get comfortable with just a few commands, like how to write, quit, in, insert. It's right there. And basically use it as I'm using. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So we'll start from the very basics. I wanted to do a Linux section and then a Python section. So Linux, we've got the command line. So the terminal, it shows you the file path, and this is the relative. You'll notice this little tilde. If it was an absolute file path, it would have everything down to root, which is just a forward slash, and that's how you start in the directories in Linux. It's also off limits to a lot of people for a lot of systems that you don't own. Like if you're at work or at school or something like that, you usually don't have root privileges. So, anyways, it starts all the way there. This is a relative path, so that's also very useful. The tilde stands for home, so this means go to Kali. I'm just a Kali user, which is the default. I mean, you can change this to whatever. I don't keep this thing connected to the internet, so I'm not worried about people trying to. I mean, that's not an open invitation to try to hack my stuff. Anyways, yeah. So it's Kali's home. This is called Kali, this machine, and then we got the tilde, which stands for. In fact, we'll do one of the commands here. So present working directory. Let's see, that's down here right after the Vim and Nano thing. Then you got root, home for Kali, streams, Python, level 0. And then another useful command is the ls, which means list. And we don't actually have anything in here, so kind of going out of order. Let's use a cd, which means change directory. And then if you do dot dot, it goes up. If you do ls, we're in the Python folder. And this is all the nonsense that we were doing, or not nonsense. It was a lot of really kind of complicated stuff and troubleshooting that we did last night. We did, what is that, 5 coding challenges. So we created 5 Python files. That's that .py. And yeah, then I made a level 0. So like an initial start out folder. In fact, let's go ahead and do that there. So change directory, level. Make sure everything is case sensitive in Linux. Also, spaces matter. They can mean different things, like different input. So that's why you see the underscore there. You can see it there. You can't really see it there. But cd level underscore 0, that's a snake case. We use the underscores to connect words. Yeah. So we just changed directory into level 0. And again, this is an empty directory, but you can do ls, or you can do ls-l. Oh, and I should also put, I'm going to put this man pages. So not to be sexist or anything, man actually stands for manual. And that's just really important for anyone to know. Also clear. When you want to get rid of that stuff, you can just clean up your window like that. So let's do man ls. You can literally do manual for any command in Linux. It'll give you a nice handy thing. So we can even do this one down here, man cd. So, oh, there's no man for CD. Man, echo. That's another one I want to talk about. So basically starts off, you've got your name, um, synopsis, description, and then you have your flags. So these are options. And then you usually have two versions for a lot of them. The single dash is usually a single character or char. And then the double dash means like the whole like lengthy, more verbose um, command. But like you can see here, not every one of them has double commands, but also they are case sensitive. So a lowercase u versus uppercase u, does a couple different things. Then we have with again here. So that's for like, usually it's good practice for Linux tools to have similar flags and commands to be used. Like help. Help is on almost everything. So, and version. That's I did a little quick thing last night. So like I did Python dash dash version, and actually that's something that I hope to fix soon. Might even just do it. So we got Python 2.7.18. Trying to remember sudo apt. Oh, that's my security stuff. Sudo apt update Python. I think it's dash. I think it's dash dash update actually. See how that didn't. Oops. Takes no arguments. So or ash apt dash. No. Anyways, I'm not gonna worry about it right now. We have Python functioning, so that's just kind of like semantics. But basically, the man page is important because like this is just the ls command. Remember, that's what we searched for this first man page. And oh gosh, there we go. So it starts off with one of the very first or very most important things, dash lowercase a, which means stands for all. And that says do not ignore entries starting with period. So in the Linux file system, I mean, there isn't going to be anything here. Let's do like ls-a, except for the two symbolic links for current directory and go up a directory. You might remember we did cd dot dot, and that sent us up one level. See, here we're in level 0, which ironically, I mean, the names collided. That's not a coincidental thing. So, or that is a coincidence. Sorry. Anyway, so we're down here. Now we did cd dot dot. Now we're up one. So now we're here, and that's in every directory. So if we did an ls-a, which we can just hit the over arrow and it completes it on this one. And now we can see all the other files. Oh, and we also have a swap file, convert to binary. So that means I think I closed Vim without saving, and it left a swap file open. But that's basically a file used when you're creating or editing files. It has a swap, so it's like a backup or temp version, I think. So, anyways, but that's an example of a hidden file. That's a good example. So let's go back into level 0. Oh, and you can also do tab complete. So if you typed it correctly, notice it won't work if I do a lowercase l. Oh, it changes it to up. Okay, well, not every Linux would do that, I don't think. I mean, I don't want to say that and have somebody be surprised. So anyways, now we move back down. So you can see our relative file path is just this right here. Now we went down another level, and we can do ls, nothing there. All right, and that's a man thing, a man page. So a manual page, it shows you its uses and the synopsis, I guess. So, you can have your option, and then you have a file. I don't use file much. I just do ls. Like, like you see here, ls or ls-a. I don't usually provide what's called an argument, and that's this would be considered an argument. It takes a file, yeah, files, current directory by default. Oh, so maybe like if we, well, here's a good, first let's clear. Here's some other commands. I don't actually have them on here. Let's do touch, make dir, or make directory. Yeah, so let's use a couple of these. So first make dir test. We have a test directory. So if we did ls now, there. And if we did ls dash l, which is another very important flag for ls, that shows you a list view, and it shows you all the information. So there I am, Kali on Kali, or on group Kali, all that. We'll get into that later, maybe. Size, it just shows you a lot more information about the current directory. So, however, so now we've got test. Let's cd into test, and let's use the command known as touch. That creates a file. So file1.txt. Let's actually make a couple. Touch file underscore 2.txt. So that's that snake case again. And then the text file is the file extension, so .txt. Also, I should mention, file extensions don't necessarily mean anything in Linux. Like they do. I mean, in a perfect world, people would name them what makes sense. But don't always trust it. You can always do, let's see. Trying to think. Well, we could try it. File 1. So it's empty. Doesn't have any information about it. So let's go ahead and here's your first introduction to Vim. So Vim is a text editor. So you type, what you want to use, the tool. We want to use Vim, just like ls is a tool. It's a very simple, quick tool, but it's still a tool nonetheless, which is basically a program that you can do. Echo's another one. We'll get into that here really soon, because that's another way to edit files too. So it's pretty cool. But anyway, so we got Vim. Now let's do file 1.txt. So we're actually opening now, or actually no, let's show file 3. So now we've got a file that doesn't exist previously. Like if we were to, oh, and also use Q or to quit. All right, so now with ls, we've got test. We can cd to test, ls. So we have two files. So file 3 does not exist. If we hit enter here, it'll open it. And now if we did this, actually I don't know if it shows up until we save it. Yeah, so we have to save it first, but technically we have a process open with file 3.txt. Now, like I was saying, the easiest way to use Vim is just remember a few simple things. So whenever you want to type something, whenever you want to put something in or insert text, hit I, and see that changed it to insert mode. Literally, that's the most important thing, because you can just start typing away once you open Vim and it won't be doing anything. It might actually be deleting things, cutting, copying, all this other stuff, but won't actually be editing the text in the file. So it's just a blank file still, but now we can start typing text. See, and it starts editing there as long as it's in the insert mode. Now to get out of the insert mode, just hit escape, and that gets you back to the whatever mode this is. I don't really know what it is, but anyways, you hit shift colon for your colon. Now we're going to do W for write, Q for quit. Actually, let's just do write. So let's go ahead and write this. So it tells you file3.txt has been written. 18 bits, bytes, I'm not sure. Let's see, LL. Now you'll notice we have a file 3, and that's that. Oh, also I kind of jumped ahead. I have LL listed up here. It was the only one that I know of that does this, but you can actually change the letters of the tool called. Like people use this flag ls-l so much to get this list view, which I mean, yeah, it's super helpful. Like you just saw, I did that. It shows whatever. Today the 5th? I believe yes, it is the 5th. So February 5th, 18. So 18 bytes, bits, whatever it is, was just written. So there's the size. And we got empty files for file 1 and file 2. Now, if I just did regular ls, I'd only see this. Well, in fact, let's do it. So ls. Now we see the 3 files, but they're just, in order. So they're, this is like the text editor way of navigating files. So it's like your Windows File Explorer, your folders, stuff like that. So, but you don't have icons. You can't click on this. These aren't buttons. So you have to use the CD, or since none of these are directories, also you'll notice directories look blue. So let's actually cd dot dot and then do an ls. See, test is in blue. If you did an ll, which is short for ls-l, you'll see it starts with a D even. And it's these are the descriptive bits. I'm trying to remember I don't know what the official name is, but these are the permissions. There you go. Permissions of a file, and also in Linux they denote directories with a D. Some alliteration there. And yeah, so there's a directory called test. and it's got these permissions for owner, everything, group, read and execute, which for directories that's important. You need to execute all around because that's how people can go into that directory. You can't open a folder or a directory if you don't have execute privileges. And then this is for world. So if you're not in the Kali group and you're not user Kali, you can still read and execute this directory. It's not a hidden directory. It's not, anything like that. Um, so yeah. So let's execute it. So cd test tab complete. That's all that is. So that executed the directory file test. All right, so now we're back in here. We got ls, we got our ll, and you can see the permissions of these files. It's read write for Kali, but only read for, whoops, don't want to type that. Only read for group Kali, and only read for everyone else. All right, so now we've got permissions, we've got start train. Oh, let's cover one more thing. So while we're in this mode, we can do shift colon again, or get colon, and do WQ, which now this would write if we had made any changes, it would save those changes, then adding that Q quits. That's the main thing to know about Vim. So if you Vim file 3, let's go back into that one we were just in. So now we have it. If we started typing, it wouldn't do anything. You have to hit the I for insert. Now we can move around. We can type, whatever. Doesn't matter. So some new text. Now, it will freak out with you if you make changes and don't save it. So, like if I just tried to do Q quit, it'll be like, oops. Oh, also forgot. Hit the escape button to get out of insert mode, then colon Q. See, now it gives you this red text, looks all angry. No write since last change, add exclamation point to override. So you can still quit without saving. That's fine. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. So we'll do colon again, Q, exclamation point, and then it's done. And if we went back in there, you'll see those changes weren't saved. So then we do I for insert. Also, another super handy thing, and this works for just about everything. Microsoft Word, I'm pretty sure Apple products, like the home and the end keys on your keyboard. So if you hit end, it goes to the end, which is really handy in text editors, command line, anything that you have to use the keyboard and you don't have really a mouse. I mean, some of them you can click around and actually, it matters. You can click through here. So, but like for here, it doesn't really matter if I click around up here. Mostly everything is controlled by the keyboard. So, and if you want to go back to the beginning, do home, end, home, end. Super handy. Also, before I forget, copy and pasting. It's a little finicky in Linux. You have to do Control Shift C, Control Shift V, Control Shift X to copy, paste, cut in that order. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I don't know when you said that. I don't speak French, but speak a little Spanish. But no, sorry, no one. I know like 3 French words. That's about it. All right. So we get the home and then some new text. All right, we got this. So now let's do I don't know why it's in replace. That doesn't, don't worry about it now. Doesn't affect it as much. So then you do the colon. We hit escape to get out of insert and then write, quit. There we go. The LL. See that. Also, this shows when it was last edited. So you'll see it has 1638, so military time. Wait, is that? It's not correct. I don't think my Linux is. Anyways, so that's the time in military time. Um, yeah. Anywho, but the 38 is what I usually pay attention to because that was the minute marker. It is now 38, so that's how you can tell. And then these other files are a little bit older. Something to just kind of be aware of. So now let's see. So we talked about. Oh, we completely forgot cat and echo. So now that we've done a little file editing with Vim, go and clear that. And so now we can do what is called cat, or which is short for concatenate, um, file 3. Then, oh, and tab complete won't work if you have multiple files that have similar beginnings but different endings. So how this is like file 2 or file 1 also exists in here. That's why it makes me type out one more character. It's like, do you mean 3, 2, or 1? So anyways, we concatenate file 3. There you go. It shows the contents of the file. It prints it to the screen. This is why echo is so useful. So we'll just do, and you have to use quotes when you have input like this, like hello world, which is one of the most popular, and we'll get into that with Python. That's like the first thing that everybody does when you're learning computer science. When you're learning a program, you want to learn hello world, and it's good to know it in any language that you hope to work in. So anyway, so there's that. So echo hello world, and it just prints it back to the screen. And that's actually the whole point of hello world programs. It's just to print text to the screen. So, but you can also do what's known as, well, first, really important for Linux, up arrow. So you can recall commands that you just recently did. So we can cat again, we can echo again, and it goes in order. It's like a stack saved of all of your commands. It keeps track of your current session. So if I were to close this window, I would lose all these commands, and I would have to like do them again. Like we did, and these have different commands. See, these are the commands that we did in this specific window or this specific terminal um, screen. All right, so we got that. So how we doing? Not even really half an hour. Cool. So we got most of Linux. So we just started Echo. Oh yeah, redirecting text. So this prints it to the screen. That's all the Echo tool or Echo program does. But you can take that output based on your input. So your input is what's in quotes, what's here. So you've got your flags, like your ls-l, oops, ls-l. So you got your flags, and then your input. So you can do, let's go back up, an ls-l test. See, now we're back up one. So if we just did an ls, we would normally see just test, but now we've got, if we did our variable or our input or our parameter, it's test now. So now we're listing the contents of test, which is the same as we just did when we were inside test. See? Okay, so let's see. Redirecting text, we have our input. We can do our output. This is overwrite, so we could do this with like a new file. So echo is useful for creating new files. File 4.txt, it now exists. So if we did an LL, we would see all the files and the timestamp. Now 42. A lot of things. You got that 42 and 38. It's also smaller, so you can see the size ratio 12 to 34 because we just put hello world in it. So if we did what we did earlier, cat file tab complete, then we have to put that 4 so it knows which one. Hello world. See? And actually, usually you want to do an exclamation point. So to fix that, actually, I wonder if it adds a new one. I think it does. Let me try that. So you can do echo exclamation point, and then the double arrow will append to file underscore 4. Oh, I don't know what dquote is. Let's see, echo. Something to do with the exclamation point. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use an escape character. See, that's a good point. You can use a backslash, and it'll actually escape whatever is like right after it. So, whoops, you want those double quotes. There we go. So see how it turned purple versus it's blue here. So that does something with dquote. Well, let's see, let's clear that. And dquote. Okay, it's just weird. Anyways, there's no manual entry for that. I can look it up on the interwebs later. But we did echo that and then append file 4.txt. There we go. Now, I'm not sure. You can go ahead and tap arrow complete that. Yep. So it does include a new line at the end of this line. So when we append it, it starts on the next line. So that's okay. And then it probably adds another, like if we did it again, And we catted the contents. See, you got another line with an exclamation point, so it just adds that new line character to it. All right, that's Linux. Half an hour. All right, so if we did a timestamp, it's like right at 30 minutes. Most of Linux. Well, it's you might just look up the rest of these on your own time. I mean, we did echo cat to output redirection using the single arrow to write a file. So you can do that to write a file. It's a way. It's kind of janky. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of control like you do with like this is Vim. This whole note list, like I can add new notes whenever I want and type it out and see it in real time. Whereas this, it's kind of hidden. Like if you echo it, you're just hoping that it went, and then you got to double check like I did the cat, so concatenate just to verify that the changes went through. So it's just good practice to check, and that's echo. So I mean, echo is good for, as you can see here, got a few different things. This is kind of universal. The /n is usually stands for new line. Um, yeah, all that. Oh yeah, and then you can see the author of the tool. So the guys or the people that wrote Echo are Brian and Chet, um, Fox and anyways. And you got all the other info. So yeah, so we can quit out of that. Now we have another one. Let's go ahead and clear that. So we have a couple of clean terminal windows, and let's get into Python. Let me get a drink real quick. All right, because this will make a lot more sense like my video last night, because I just started solving a bunch of problems, deleted like 5. And even though they're the easiest ones on Code Wars, it was just kind of just running through. So anyways, we've got Linux mostly down, cat, echo, ls, there's a whole bunch for that. These are text editors, Vim and Nano. Oh, pwd, let's do that real quick. So pwd, that's present working directory. Manual pwd, so our print name of current working directories. Print working directory. Yeah, either way. Basically, that's what it does. So if we back out, we saw that we are at the home. We get the absolute path. So it's not relative like here. Like even though this tells us constantly with every command that we enter, it tells us where we're entering it from and who we are, and what computer we're using. Ah, jeez. And this is also a different style in Linux, how it does the kind of next line thing. Most Linux has all of this on one line, and then you would enter your stuff right there. So, all right. So Python. Now, first you need to make sure that Python is installed. So that we can use the which command, Python with capital P. No, maybe it's lowercase p. There it is. So it's in my user binary Python. So it's in this directory. Um, Also, we can do Python dash dash version. See, yeah, we did that at the beginning of the video. So now we can see that. I will update that at some point, but for now, we can actually use it. We're using it just fine. So now that we're in level 0, this is the beginner directory for all this stuff. Let's go and get rid of this. Let's make some Python files. So, um, trying to think. Yeah, hello world dot py. Um, Now we got to figure out how. Oh, if you use home in the beginning, do Vim. So Vim, see, it was all red. It was getting mad at me. So this opens the Vim text editor with hello world.py. The very first thing to learn, I have it right here. The very first thing is print. And this is case sensitive. Oh, right. See, right there, nothing registered. So whatever I was doing, anyways, I for insert. First thing. See, I forget all the time. I've been doing this for years. Right, insert print. And you need the open parenthesis, the open quote, hello world, exclamation point, end quote, end parenthesis, and literally that's it. That's your very first Python program, your first Python script, your first Python code. Most people's first code in any language that they learn is hello world. And basically what this is doing is it's calling the print function. So that's a built-in tool, much like ls and all these tools that we looked at over here for Linux. It's a program itself or a piece of code that says, take whatever the input is, so that's the hello world, take it and send it to the console, send it to the output stream. So it won't do anything in here. We got to do a couple of things to get it ready. A lot of languages have a lot more complicated stuff like compilation, which this one does too. It calls the Python compiler or interpreter, however you want to think about it, and it translates the code into the ones and zeros at real time. So when you, and I'll show you how to do that here real quick, but just know that other languages might be a little more complex where you'd have to do what's known as compiling, making. Like C++ uses a make file, which actually makes it, builds it, like creates new files based off of other files and makes it into ones and zeros binary. And yeah, it's a whole thing. Python, super easy. You want the print function, go ahead and save the file. We'll just write it so we can leave it open. That's why I have 4 windows open, so we can have our file open. Look here, we now have the hello world.py, which you'll notice it's in white. It's just a normal file, and actually if we did file, find out the type, it's ASCII text. So it's just a text file right now. It's not an executable, it's not a program, it's not a tool. Like file itself is a tool. That word, or ls is a tool. Those are executables. So if you do which file and find out where that tool lives in the user bin. Same with which ls, you know. Oh, this is alias. Anyways, not important. So we got our hello world, and what we need to do is we need to do chmod. Actually, we should only put that up there just because that's something you need to be aware of. Chmod is modify or change permissions, and we can just do +x for execute hello world apply. Alright, so now check out what that does. Changes its color to that sea green or that teal. If we did an LL, we can now see that it is read, write, execute, and it's execute across the board. So you can't, like the group can't write to it, only the owner can write to it. The world can't write to it, they can only read it and execute it, but it's there and it is now an executable. That's what X means, X executable, all that. So now what we can do, Python hello world. Ta-da, see, it works just like the echo command. So it takes your input, which is here, the hello world that we typed out in the print function. That's the input, that's the parameter, that's the variable being sent to it. It's what we call a string. So the words hello and world, the exclamation point, exactly as is. And notice it has a capital H, capital W, it is case sensitive. It is just like the echo command. So that is the very first thing in Python. And congratulations, you now know your very first program, your first script, your first code. Now, let's see. We got about like 20 minutes, I think, to try to do the, yeah. And this is also all available on my website too. I did open source computer science. In fact, let me try to put it in the notes, but in case I don't, I'm gonna just grab it real quick and throw it in the notes here so you can go to it. It's in my Twitch profile actually, but um, I don't have it open. I was sorry, apologies. Just give me 1 second. Well, I got a lot of things running, so probably not the best. Anyways, open source computer science, OSCS. It's my website project, and I am adding to it constantly. I was hoping to have it done by February, but it's now February, so apologies, that's not quite done. But anyways, here we will go ahead and yeah, close. There we go. Control Shift B for paste, and actually to get to it, pen is how you edit it, which you have to be logged in as me. Go to full. There you go. So it's at CodePen. It's a very handy website, very useful. If you do freecodecamp.com, they make you do projects on I misclicked. Sorry. So anyways, excuse me. This is the website that I made. Gotta make sure I drink a lot of water. And it's basically my contribution, my practice uh, for teaching the next generation of coders, like the kiddos especially. Um, I'm also working on some like public school education projects, just to kind of help kiddos. But for the most part, I want to, work hoping to be an educator of sorts. I used to tutor classmates in college. Sorry, I know that really cracks. I should like mute myself when I talk. But anyways, yeah. So I like teaching. I feel like I got a knack for it. And there we go. So this website will give you a written walkthrough of all the stuff that I'm going over on here. Um, kind of. I only have the Java section finished as of right now, and that's even just the first part. I think I cover loops, yeah, all of these things. And I started to do it in Python, but I figured I wanted to do these streams instead because this is a lot easier. Then I can explain it in real time. This is a lot more entertaining than just reading text off the screen. Even though you are kind of still reading the stuff. Here's all your commands. So we got a file open, a Python file. We got multiple other windows open. Like we're not even doing anything with this one yet. We might not even. I might have done overkill because we got quite a bit of stuff we can do here. So there. All right, so let's get back into it. So we got our first, oh, right. So that's how you do it. You type Python, and now you normally type Python 3 if you're using the most up-to-date version of Python currently at the making of this video, which I do not have. I just type Python and it works. Oh, whoops. We can do the tab complete or the over arrow. I don't know why it was, oh, I guess it's got all of these others. See, I did have Python 3.8. It's aware of it. Whatever. So, um, you can just do Python hello world, and then it'll open up your version of Python, and it'll run the script or the program. So our hello world is very basic print statement, and that's what you learn. So now let's expand on that. So we've got print, and now we've got variables. Now, let's see, this is not an insert mode, so we got to do that. Oops, Control Z does not work. That's okay. I just took out, it's kind of hard to see, but there we go. So I wanted to come down a little bit. The cool thing with Python, and this is different with like Java and C++, that's what I actually learned on first, was Java, then C++, then Python. But you don't have to declare what your variable is. Now a variable, think about a variable as like a box. You got a shipping box, like Amazon's all the rage right now. You got that. You got your box, and that's your variable. Now what's contained in it, what's the product or whatever, that's inside the box is the actual data, the information that is being stored in the variable. So how you make one of these, you could do, you can just do box equals, and then if you want to do a string, which is a bunch of characters, or a string of characters, which is a type of variable, say hello. We'll just do hello. That's all we want in that box. Then we could do like box 2 equals world. And then we can even do, oh, finish the string. Then we do box 3 equals exclamation point. Now, is that going to give us an issue? I'm not sure. Also, in other languages, you have to end your lines with things, or you have to like have a lot more organization with brackets and stuff. Python is also a lot simpler in that you really only need to use indentation and spaces to kind of format it. And I'll show you that here real soon when we get into, actually maybe next episode. That's an actual like functions. So but for now, this is just a script. It's just, you could also accomplish the same thing if we did Python print hello world. All right, let's try that. Wait, that doesn't work? Huh. Well, you should be able to just type these in. Just do Python. Okay, maybe that's what I was doing. You got to open up the interpreter, hello world, you type a Python command. Oh, whoops. And there you go. Oh, and also, this is what happens when you do it live. There you go. Hello world. So I misspelled it, fixed it. There you go. You got the Python interpreter. Um, now I wonder, let's actually go ahead and try that. So we have box equals 5. Okay, now print box. This might have an issue. Oh no, it prints 5. Okay, cool. So there you go. So now you can print what is in, or what the contents of box is or are. And we get that. So now we have this, same thing. Now that we can have our script, we can do print box plus box 1 plus box 2. And notice I put spaces in between the plus sign, kind of make it cleaner. Let's actually try that. So now we gotta save it. So our changes are reflected in the file. Now, I want to make sure. Oh wait, I'm in the test. All right. So cd dot dot to go back up one, clear it. ll. There we go. We got hello world.py. So let's do Python. Hello world. Tab complete. Oh, box 1. See, there's an error. So we have a bug. There's our first bug. Actually, not first one. I think we just had another one right here. Yeah. we forgot the quote there. That was our first bug. Here's our first bug that I'll second bug. All right, whatever. That I'll explain. So we don't have box 1. We have box underscore 2, box underscore 3. So right here, we do I for insert, take that out, put box 2, and what I really meant to say was box 3 at this point, because we do have these. I was trying to put hello world exclamation point together. All right, now write it. Okay, now that it's saved, let's do it again. And now you can see the changes were reflected. The bug is no more. We debugged our program. And it is a program. It's a very basic program without some very main components, but it is. Or script, you could also call it the script, or a script as well. There you go. So you can see hello world twice. Now you might notice there's a little bit of a formatting issue. We don't have a space. If you notice back here, I didn't include a space in this variable or in this one. So we do I for insert again. We can either put it here or put it at the end of this one, but we have to put it somewhere. And this introduces a lot of problems and a lot of bugs for a lot of challenges that you'll do later on when you're doing some problem solving, either for a job or for coding challenges. Formatting is key. So you gotta take into account, okay, I need a space in between the words. However, I don't need a space at the beginning. So once we get into loops here in a little bit, that's gonna make more sense because Ah, wait, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, because you can add variables a certain number of times. So you can do all the variables. Yeah, we'll explain that later. But something to keep in mind. For now, we can just add a space here or here, and we don't need one between the exclamation point. That's how English works. And then we do our language punctuation. Oh, that's seven, right? Anyways, do our colon W for write. And now we're back into the whatever starting mode it is, but it says yes, it's been written. Let's clear out this garbage so we can kind of see what we're doing better. Up arrow a couple times, pull up that command, and there you go. You can see that we have a hello world as a result of this line. Oh, and also, what's the command for it? Sorry, I do want to do line. I forget what it is. Actually, no, let's look it up real quick. Line numbers vim. Line numbers are important, and you'll actually you'll get used to them later on. Let's see. Set number. There we go. I knew it was something kind of random that didn't quite sound right. Set number. So set numbers or set lines. There you go. So Vim actually has it as well. And most text editors and also IDEs or integrated development environments will have line numbers. And then you have something like line 1, print hello world without the question. See, it tells you the line. So when this had a bug, we do insert and we take that back out. Yeah, let's do that. Let's introduce a bug on line 1. Oops. And do escape, right? Okay. Now let's do this. Oh, see, there's that bug wherever we ran it. So this is an interpreter that's actually still open. So if we did print box, our variable named box in this area, or this process, still has 5. So still hanging in there with 5. That's in scope. That's what we'd say. That's actually a very useful computer science term, scope. So you got to know the area of effect, the range, or the effectiveness of a variable, the persistency of a variable, or something like that, or loops or anything. Just remember scope. So the scope of this, we still have a box variable of 5. So there's that. All right, now back to this. We have a bug. We introduced a bug into here on purpose. And also, this is a good time to bring up debugging, which is one of the hardest things in programming, like the most frustrating. You can spend hours, even days on a bug. This bug is really easy, and Python is a lot easier than languages like Java and C++, and even C, especially C. Excuse me. Because it's very descriptive with its error messages. You have file, hello world.py. So it gives you the file that you're working with, even though you just have it here on the thing. And it says what line number. Oh, so we can refer to line 1. Like, see, we could even introduce, just so you can see it change in real time, pri. We don't know what pri is, you know. It's a very common bug. You might forget to finish typing a word, or your keyboard shorts out, or whatever, or you have a cat walking across the keyboard situation where you accidentally fat finger something, or whatever. You have a misspelling. So now let's do it again. We wrote it, run it. Oh, it still crashes at that one. So never mind. Let's go ahead and fix that bug again real quick. So we know where it is. It's in line 1. Then leave that other spelling error in there. All right, now there. Name. Pre is not defined. So whatever this is, it's trying to treat it like a variable, like box, box 2, box 3, pre, which we could actually do. Let's do pre equals 5. Now notice, oh, I guess it doesn't change it here. 5 is actually an int when it doesn't have the quotes, which stands for integer. So that's another variable type. You've got strings, which are your words, your chars, which are your characters, your ints, which are your basic numbers, just integers. Let's actually do a couple floats. Let's see, like a float would be like, we'll do float pre. We'll get into naming variables also. So we got 5.0. That means we have a floating point or a decimal. The decimals can also be accomplished with long, pre, and notice it changed to blue. So that's like a keyword. So look, thankfully we have this connected to it. Um, but yeah, so that's not the keyword. Then that'd be like 1.1. So long stands for like long integer. Actually, I don't know. Double and float that have the decimal points. So long, actually, that might not be. Sorry, I might be misinforming. Or that'd be double. Isn't a keyword interesting? Pre and pre is nonsensical. It's a misspelling, but we'll just keep using it. We're gonna like float. Like you can also abbreviate things, which is huge. Like oh, let's do num. So let's take that out so it's not a bug. Let's just get rid of long too. Float I know is a floating point, so that definitely has decimals. Same with double does. Long I don't think that's actually now. But if we did sorry, what was I talking about? Num for number. Num 1. Very common. And we got 10. There we go. So we have a double digit integer num 1. And if we did another handy tool in Python is print type num 1. So that'll print out what type that is. So let's go ahead and save that because we got quite a bit of stuff going on. Make sure we don't have any. We do still actually, never mind. We still have a bug. So we need to take that out or set it equal to something. You can't just leave it empty like that. We would have another, instead of not defined, well, actually, let's go ahead and show it. So just so you're aware of what happens, there's right. So we saved it. Let's clear this so we can focus on just what we want to pay attention to. Right there, invalid syntax. So we have a syntax error. And it even says syntax error, invalid syntax. I love it. Line 11, so you can zero right in on where it is, and that's why it's helpful, handy, sorry. it's useful to keep multiple windows open. So like we still even have this. I haven't referred to this. You could be writing down this website. You could pause it, whatever. You can look at these, as I keep scrolling up and down. But you know, you can just see this. However, here we have actually where we're editing. We can edit it in real time. Just change it to 0. Doesn't matter. And then save it so we can have the changes reflected in it. And then instantly up arrow to bring back the command. Oh, and there you go. So, sorry, that caught me by surprise. I forgot we did this last line 17. Anyway, so we have hello world, hello world. We have all these variables, but we're not using them. So they exist. Don't worry, they exist in scope of, well, they don't exist now, technically. I should say that refers to the scope. Here, box still exists. Here, this only exists in theory. This doesn't actually exist in memory, except for where this file is stored, but that doesn't really help you. You have to execute the file or run the program, run the script, so the computer sends this to the processor and says, hey, do these commands. And then it does. It does a print, it assigns variables. I mean, they could still exist in leftover memory, but not in the way that you want to use them. So, but here, while this program's running, which it's terminated, it's already run, it's no longer an active process. It did its thing. It finished. It's done. That's why I say that the variables are no more here. Now here, this interpreter is still open. So this is a kind of a very basic runtime environment. Well, not basic, I should say, but I mean, that's kind of like the equivalent to what Java has. They have a runtime environment or JRE, Java runtime environment. Yeah, that's what it is. So, anyways, oh gosh, we're getting to an hour and we've only covered variables hmm. And like I said, all of this is covered on this website. So go here. You can see Java. Now, something I should point out real quick. If you're watching this, you're learning Python right now and Linux, and eventually I'm going to be going through a whole load of Python programs. I have some of my favorites picked out that I'm really excited to do tutorials on. However, you need to crawl before you run, especially before you walk, before you saunter, all that good stuff. You need to understand what's going on. So, yeah, this is kind of like it's the video version or the EchoCast podcast. Like I'm on TV. Anyways, let's get back to it. So we'll maybe spend up to like maybe a half hour more. I don't want this to run too long. This is basically, in a nutshell, all you need to understand to follow along with my following videos that I will be going over, starting with the easiest challenges on Code Wars, working all my way up to, and including some code clashes they do in coding games, like real time competitions, really cool stuff. I'm not that good at it, but yeah, we'll be doing some of that. Anyways, so half hour. Sorry, I get really excited about this stuff because I just love explaining it, and that's something I recently learned in the last boot. I just finished a boot camp in cybersecurity, and one of the things that we talked about was if you can teach stuff, then you solidify your understanding of it. So I mean that's really generic. But if you can teach content, subject matter, you solidify your own understanding. That's why I want to do this. I want to encourage other people. If you want to start streaming, I mean, yeah, I was a little nervous at first, but honestly, people are going to watch it if they enjoy it. If they don't, they're not going to watch it. So you don't have to worry about that. Trolls don't even really exist anymore. I mean, everybody's PC now, which is great. Everything has high standards. Twitch has high standards. They have very strict guidelines. So yeah, jump into it. Do it. Like, who cares? And you don't have to do video. Like, look, I could turn my video off. No problem. And I do that a lot. Actually, I don't have a video for my PlayStation or my Switch, so I don't even have it hooked up with my Switch, which I need to fix. But anyways, all my other streams are like, yeah, videoless. Just try it out. But anyways, the bottom line of that is it helps you understand it better. So, and even me doing this stuff, that was some really good practice. I hadn't touched Linux for, I don't know, almost a month, at least a couple of weeks since I graduated that boot camp. I just kind of took a break from actual Linux and I was doing Python, but still. Then I did all that stuff last night, just troubleshooting. And now we've got 4 windows running. We've got examples. So yeah, progress, evolution, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, we went off on a tangent. All right. So we're talking about variables. Now let's talk about control flow. Also, wait, real quick, type. Type is another function or tool, just like ls, echo, those are both tools and functions. But in Python, you have built-in, pre-made functions, and we'll get to that. Functions are very actually. Let's go ahead and do one real quick. So are we in visual insert? Um, insert. Okay. Whoops. I accidentally got that. And also, I took off another parenthesis. You might have caught that. That would have introduced another bug. So well, if we wrote it, anyways, back to this. This is the function. We'll write a function here in a sec. That's why I was making space. But it tells the type of the parameter passed in. So like up here, we had three parameters that we can concatenate together with the plus sign, box underscore 2, box underscore 3. Those are all the parameters or variables or pieces of data being sent to the print function. Excuse me. This is being sent to the type function. Now the type function says int, and it gives a little angle brackets, this nice format and everything. So that's what that function returns. Now you might also notice that I wrapped it in a print function. So it's one thing to just have type, like let's say type box. Oh, whoops, you got to do it right. Type parentheses box. I wonder if it'll show it. It does. Okay. So actually, is it redundant then to do type? Type num1. Let's see if it prints it twice. Then we'll have our answer. So also real quick for anyone who doesn't think computer science is a science. Now, while I'll agree with you that the engineering aspect, well, yes, it is considered blah 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 that. Here is an example of how it is very scientific. Now, I would actually agree that things like biology and the other sciences are more sciencey because they actually do experiments. But like right now, we're doing a very quick experiment on what's going to happen. Well, what is going to happen? That's about it. What's going to happen when I do this? So let's do it. It only does it once. See? And actually, we did write it. Let's write it again just to be sure. We have our little confirmation. 20 lines. That's interesting. So we wrote 20 lines of that. Let's run it again. And also, I would say, keep it clean, clear, and then run it, just so you can focus on it, because that is kind of the source of headaches that I've had when I've got too much stuff going on. That's also why I like separating it out, because if you were like typing in, okay, I wanted to do a thing with the interpreter, I would have to type Python again, just Python, get in there, then I'd have to wait until I see this thing, this not cursor, but prompt. Anyways, this thing, and then I can start typing stuff like print hi, something very basic, just kind of like a little review. That's basically echo, but once you're in an interpreter or you're in a file of Python. Yeah, so let's see. Variables, get those pretty much down, and now let's start using variables. So control flow, the whole point of that, also functions. Sorry. We'll actually put functions down here so I don't forget. But before we do that, let's actually address control flow. So that's if, oh, and I didn't do insert, so I do copy I from the if. So if, elif, else. Now, these are actually three bugs as of right now. The way that we have them, just those words are going to cause bugs. So to fix that, let's focus with if. Also, let's wait real quick. Let's talk comments. So if we want to wait on that, we don't want to get rid of it. We can just do a pound sign or hashtag, whatever you want to call it. But basically, a number sign also will be a comment. So anything following that in that line, you might have noticed I had to do it for this one as well. So if I take that back out, this is uncommented. It will cause a bug. It'll try to run that code. We don't want that. And I usually throw spaces in between. Usually, not always, but I try to just because it's cleaner. Also, you can write notes using comments. So like here we'll do control flow. In fact, actually, we should be doing that. Why are we not doing that? Variables. That's what's called pseudocode. That's something I actually just learned. I mean, I learned how to do comments for my degree, but I learned more importantly what pseudocode is in my cybersecurity bootcamp. That was something that they taught us for our scripting. Basically, this is very useful. to write pseudocode to kind of keep notes while you're coding. So right now we've got variables, control flow, and then I could even jump down here, do a couple enters, then do dictionary, just to kind of have my notes there in two places. I have it here and I have it here. All right, now back to the if else. Yeah, we got like 25 minutes, so let's try to get a basic understanding of these. So this is control flow. This is basically do code based on conditions. So this is a conditional if, let's say if num1 less than 1,000. Okay, that's reasonable. It's assigned to 10 up here, so we should know that this should execute. Sorry. Don't forget you need a colon at the end. So same with functions. You need colons at the end of if statements, elif statements, and else statements. And notice when I hit enter this time, it actually adds an indent for me, one tab. And so that's how Python separates code, separates sections, things like that. So when you're in an if statement, all the code that's tabbed in one will be combined with that if statement. So line 22 also involves line 23. And line 23 will only happen if line 22 is correct, if it's satisfied, if it is passed a boolean that is true. That's another variable we didn't cover. So real quick, boolean is true false. Sorry, we'll get into that more later. We'll see a bunch of examples, but that's just a variable type. So you got your numbers, you got your strings, you got your booleans, you got your then you got objects and complex variables, and we'll definitely get into those much later. In fact, let's put that there. All right, sorry. But back to control flow. So now, you gotta make sure we're tabbed over. Print, and these are all in quotes, so it's gonna print all this. So num1 is less than 1,000. All right, that's it. Let's actually run that, and let's see. My hypothesis, to keep it scientific, is let's clear this. When I run this program with this command, it will print out num1 is less than 1,000. After the other three things, it prints out. See, there you go. It is correct. We still have all this stuff, and also, real quick while I'm thinking of it, so we can kind of keep it clean. Let's keep it clean on this level. So let's go ahead and comment this out. Comment this out. Also, notice that it's not having an issue because these are all strings. But if I were to change one of these to just a 1, let's actually look at this, leave it uncommented real quick. It's good practice to keep the space out of it, keep it all clean looking. Make everything line up good. And, whoops. Oh yeah, clear that. There, see? String and int objects cannot concatenate. So, it's very descriptive. Look, it even says line 9, so this is where you goofed. So, string, number, int. Notice int for integer. There you go. So now it's saying, hey, you can't add an int to that. Also, spoilers, you can't print an int. I mean, I hope this is right. At least normally you have to cast it or something like that. Let's go ahead and say it. All right, clear, run it. Got to fix this, otherwise it's going to keep crashing or stopping at that point. So let's go ahead and comment it out. Also, really useful for debugging. If you got something that's not working, just go ahead and comment it out. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can always reverse it. You can take the pound sign back out, hashtag whatever. But for now, it's a non-issue. So whatever it is, we didn't fix it. We just are avoiding it right now. We're just going to ignore it. Clear, and do it again. Oh, see, I am a liar. Interesting. All right, well, I hate to think that Python 3 is less evolved than Python 2 and now requires you to, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's a change in that. Anyways, the Python that I learned on, which was Python 3, maybe that is a difference. You're normally not able to print ints or floats or doubles, or you might be able to print booleans? Not sure. Anyways, it's just something to be aware of. some versions, some environments, some Linuxes, maybe even I don't even know. They won't let you print an int. It would have to be cast to a string, and you would do that by str wrapping it around that and sending it to the string cast function. That means, see how it's blue like the print function? That's another function that takes whatever you pass into it, then returns a string version of it. So, and that gets more into like with ASCII characters and what these things actually contain. And this isn't just a one. This is a byte of, it's actually one and then all zeros for the bits within that byte. So it gets a lot more technical than just a one. Same with world. This is actually classified as each of these letters has a numerical value. Like if you look at an ASCII chart, they're like 50 to 90, something like that. But each letter, a quotation, a capital W, even a capital versus a lowercase, has a totally different value. And so that's all contained in that. And that's why it gets so finicky when you're trying to print ints and strings, because it's meant to handle, the print function at its core is meant to handle strings only. No objects, no objects will usually have their own print function contained in it, like a toString or something like that. So if you did want to print the object, it would just know to call a different function and be like, send this string or, output to this console. Anyways, that is one reason that Java is slightly better than Python sometimes. I mean, I'm a liar right now, as we see. It printed one. Shouldn't have printed one. Should have been like, that's not a string, that's an int. I mean, of course, now we absolutely make sure that it'll work. Well, this is good for portability. That's a concept where when you write code, sometimes you might want to write it with mind of other systems and setups. The best example of that is web development. If you're going to do some web development, you need to develop it for Google or Firefox or Opera, or I'm trying to think of the other browser, Edge, Explorer. Don't use Explorer anymore. Things are different. So different code will do different things later. Like this sometimes doesn't work. So you have to add that string thing. And now go ahead and clear and then run it again. And it still does it. Now it does it correctly. So this would ensure that if it was on a Linux or a Python version or something where this was the way you needed to do it and just doing normal print without the string would cause a bug. Yeah, there you go. But anyways, the most important thing about this control flow part is we now see num1 is less than 1,000. And we wrote that to only happen, only execute, only work or happen if this was true. So we can actually just change this real quick to see how that changes. Let's do greater. All right, so obviously that is not true with how we've got our variables set up. So clear, run it. Oh, that's another thing. How did I lose my interesting? Well, what was this called? Um, Hello World. Python. There we go. All right, awesome. So now you can see that it no longer prints that the num1 is less than 1,000. Even though it is, our condition is now if it's greater than 1,000, print this. We want to change that to something that's relevant, that makes sense, but it's actually irrelevant, the whole thing, because line 23 doesn't matter since line 22 is not correct. Now, this is how we enter in elif. All right, whoops, we need to keep it there. Elif, num, and now with an if and elif statements, both of those you need to have the condition. Else is the catch-all. Else doesn't need it. We'll see that in just a sec. But so if num1 is less than 1,000, print, or we can just do num1 equals, wait, what? And print num1. There we go. Now let's write it, clear it. I want to put those commands. There we go. So I just had to type them. I typed a button. I pushed a button and messed with it. Anyways, wait, what? It printed. So why did it print? So when we're going into this control flow, this section of code, we hit line 22, we check that, that's false, so then it ignores 23, and it would ignore everything, like see how we have two indented lines here? It would ignore everything following line 22 that's indented. Now we hit line 24, which is unindented, back all the way to the edge, um, and you're going to want to pay attention to that later when we do functions and loops, because both of those also do the indent thing. So anyways, what we did is we reassigned it. So now we took num1, we did a comparison where we found that it was less than 1,000. So we're like, okay, cool. Less than 1,000, execute line 25. All right, so now I just assigned it to a string. So it also changed its variable type. So if we did type num1 now, well, you can see it's wait, what? So, and just because I've already been a liar so far, but this is how, yep, yeah, Control Z doesn't work. Gotta make sure outside of that, go back out of that, do type num1. Let's see what type it is again. Kind of see. Write it, clear it, run it. Ah, sorry. Whoops. Insert. Bug. All right. Oh, right. Okay. So I forgot. We got to do print. We didn't need to do print once we had the Python editor or the Python compiler, environment, interpreter. There we go. Interpreter. That's what I was trying to think of. Those all pretty much mean the same thing, but they're subtle differences. Anyways, go ahead and save this. Got that. It's clear. Let's run. There we go. Type string. So now it's an str versus an int. And you'll notice we are doing the same variables, checking on it. And we did line 18 and line 27. These are good debug lines, so print statements. That's why that's the very first thing that you'll ever learn. Type is also a good close second. Well, not really close, I should say, because really, if you do like capture the flag challenges, which are really fun for learning Linux, I would definitely recommend doing those. Look those up. But you would maybe need to know the type of a thing, like whether it's a zip file or what kind of compressed file it is, because they kind of try to trick you with that. So, like you could say, it could have the file extension, like it'd say .py, and it's really a tar file. You could use type, like what type, or in this one, in just Linux, you could do file hello world. ASCII text. That's actually kind of misleading because it's a Python file. But, oh, you know what? It's not. It's actually a text file. You gotta do, what is it, pound bing bang, which is interesting because, well, we're calling it. Oh, actually, you know what? Sorry. This might not make a whole lot of sense, but let's do pound bang bin Python 2.7. I think that does it. So now if we just did hello world, bad interpreter, bin Python. Let's see. Just try Python. I mean, if we were able to get it here in this window, maybe. Let me clear this up. There we go. Huzzah. Okay, so that is really important to know. For learning Python, let me put that in the notes. So, well, actually, sorry, right after print, you want to do pound, bang. They call it the shebang or bang or exclamation point, slash, whoops, slash, bin for binary, slash, Python. Very generic. I think this works with all versions of Python, but I'm not 100% sure. There you go. You can also do Python 3 if you had Python 3. I mean, it likes to make the distinction, but I think if you just type Python, it'll use the highest version that you currently have installed. So for here, it worked. This is kind of that thing, like adding string casting to stuff. Even though it worked, it printed it. Super weird. Right here it prints it. Anyways, this makes it safe or portable to other systems. Same with this. Python, can't really go wrong with that. Unless you do, then that's a whole other thing. But this is how you type it out. It is a comment, but it's in. You'd also do something similar for bash, which we'll get into that too. Pound, bang, bin, bash for bash scripts, which are basically stringing a bunch of these commands, all these things that we've done, you know, in order to make a program, script, or file. But we don't need that on this one. In fact, we should take that out because we don't want to. I mean, it's a comment, so it actually wouldn't affect anything. The first line tells the computer what to do with it. Like, here's a file, here's what you do. So use Python on this one. You're going to want to use Python. Like, you want to use a hammer, you want to use a wrench, just kind of telling you what to do when you're trying to use different tools. So it says use the Python interpreter, basically run one of these, and then act as if the user typed all of these lines and hit enter. That would all be what happened. If you typed all of this stuff in here, you would set up this interpreter or this environment to be exactly the same as what would happen when this script runs. However, once this script finishes running and terminates, then all this stuff is no more. So like I said earlier, these variables don't matter. They might still exist in memory, but they're no longer accessible. They're no longer relevant. They're no longer in scope. All right. But the reason I bring up this first line, this is really important, one of the very first things you should learn about Python. When you're writing stuff in, like, say, Vim, or you can use Sublime, or Eclipse, or Java Beans, NetBeans, or sorry, what is it? Like JetBrains, NetBeans, I think that's the company. Anyways, or Kate, those are IDEs and text editors, gedit, Nano, maybe shouldn't use Nano, but yeah, regardless of those, where was I going with that? Huh. Actually, sorry, I kind of blanked out there. But the reason that this is important is because now I can just do this, /hello world.py. If I tried to do that before, it would be confused and it would just be like, you know what, it doesn't work. But now it actually does something. So like if we took this out, or if we just sabotaged it and said, Pytho, whoops, insert, is it in this one? Insert Pytho. There we go. So now it doesn't know what you're talking about. If you try to do it, it says bad interpreter. There's no Pytho. Oh yeah, we saw this just a little while ago. Okay. Anyways, let's change this back. I for insert Python, and that's it. That's all you need for the first line. No, nothing else. If you put anything else, it's the same thing. Bad interpreter. If you had two N's, misspelled it. If you even put a capital P, as you saw, that was what we did earlier. We did a capital P and a 2.7, I believe. Anyways, so escape, right, good deal. And now we can do it again. Now let's even clear it up, just so we can see. We can execute a Python script by just running the executable. That's what you would call this. So if you did LL, we have an executable, which has execute permissions, and it's actually executable. It's got a changed color font, which happens in a lot of Linuxes, not all, so don't get too used to that. But that's a good indicator when text changes color. Same with directories, and same thing, not all Linux. I believe most Linux changes it to blue for directories, and even symbolic link, if we did LL-A, which, oh, real quick, you can also chain commands or chain flags. So if you did ls-la, ls-la, now you have the hidden directories, which there's your blues again, but you can also do it in list form. So you can chain flags of different attributes for tools. Anyway, sorry, kind of forgot about that. Geez, we're already at an hour and a half. We've only got, let's finish control flow and do, well, yeah, let's finish control flow. So else, that's the last thing here. So we have print type. Now we can get rid of that. It's just, we don't need to know it. We saw that it's well, whatever. We saw that it's a string now because we reassigned it to wait what. Else print, this is the default case condition. Okay, so there's that. And now to trigger this, we're going to make this num equals 1000. So now it's neither greater nor less, it's equal to. So that's a good concept to understand. Equal to is huge in computer science. Same with less than, same with great than. What are we doing here? Run it. Oh, whoops. We forgot the end quotes. All good. All right, let's clear that. Run it again. There we go. So now it is equal to 1,000. So it no longer satisfies line 23. It doesn't satisfy line 25. It now satisfies only 28, which everything does. If the code makes it here without, well, in this group or this block, this control flow block or that group of if elif statements, that's the else that goes with it. Now, the reason I have dictionaries in here, and we'll do that real quick as well. So a dictionary is what Python's answer to switch statements is our, yeah. So you used to have switch statements in other languages like Java and C++, where you would get an input and then you would execute one of several options of code based on the value of that input. And what I mean by that, so you could accomplish the same thing with this. So say you did a switch on num1. So case A would be print num1 is less than 100 or less than 1,000. Case B would be wait, what? And case C, or actually no, in this situation you would only have two cases, and your else would be default. Now, don't worry about remembering that for learning Python. You will want to know that for Java and C++. However, for Python, you can just have what is called a dictionary, often short for dict. Also, actually see that changed colors, so you might not want to do just dict by itself. I usually do like numdict. And this goes back to what I didn't really touch on earlier, is naming your variables. You want to name something relevant. So for a number dictionary, we could have, well, first off, let's just make an empty one. So that's with these curly brackets. That's how you declare an empty dictionary. Now for a number dictionary, maybe we have, and we can write this again. It's bad practice, but like, this reassigns it to something else, as we saw before. So numdict, and I like to separate this out. So like one first case. Okay, so that's the value linked to the key 1, and that's the int 1, not the string 1. Those are different. And then, so we have 1, let's do a comma, do 2, second, I'll just leave it at second, that's fine. And then 3, zebra, because why not? Okay, so we don't need the comma at the very end, we do need an end bracket. Now this is the way that I like to format my dictionaries, just so it makes it nice and clean. If you're doing something like the very first example I did last night was using a dictionary to encrypt or encode, yeah, encrypt and decrypt a message based on a certain algorithm, a certain way of changing the alphabet character by character. So and we'll get back into that, a lot in these videos. But basically, for that, I had half of the alphabet on the first line, half of the alphabet on the second line, or pretty much close to that. So it was just a couple of lines instead of like this would just get really long if I had 26 different letters for the English language that I wanted corresponding values for. I would need to do 26 lines on this thing. So yeah. But if it's just a few values like this, I like this, especially if the values, I mean, letters are easy because they're, very modular, but we've got first case, second case, zebra. Like, this just keeps it nice and clean. So, and we've got room, why not use it? So anyways, now to use this, we could do print numdict1, end square bracket, end parenthesis for the print function. And see, even Vim's really handy because it like highlights this stuff for you and makes these words different colors. So, it's good to get familiar with it. It's pretty handy. So anyways, we print numdict1. All right, let's go ahead. And you want to test often too. Sorry, I kind of yelled that in there. But that is important because you don't want to change a bunch of stuff and then you don't have to change it or test it every single time you change something, but you do something like this, you might want to just make sure it works. So because as you've seen, I've done a lot of things that just don't work for whatever reason, and you figure out the reason and then you fix it. So first case, as you can see, when we did one up here. So now if we wanted to change that, we want to print the value of what's on key 3. So remember, this is the key that you're passing in. And these square brackets are a little weird. So with dictionaries and strings and certain objects or advanced or complex variables, variables with variables, like variableception, anyways, with objects, you can do the bracket notation, which actually is great for slicing with strings or accessing different keys for dictionaries. And remember, we know this is, or the interpreter knows, and we know that this is a dictionary variable because of how we declared it. We set it to the curly brackets. So that tells the computer, oh, hey, this is a dictionary, so we can treat it as such. And now this does it again, but then it gives it values. So even if this was like a, whatever, you've seen it, an int, a string, doesn't matter, like that wait what, we just changed an int to a string, which is just weird. Wait, what? All right, now let's check this out. This should, I hypothesize that we will see a zebra. So let's clear up our workspace. And we see a zebra. Also, let's go ahead and let's clean up the rest of this. We don't need to be knowing this every time. Notice you can do the comments out of order, but it looks weird, so I don't like doing it. There we go. Um, and if it's actual code, I usually don't put the spaces in between it because then if you want to uncomment it, what you can do on a lot of websites, I know Replit does it, Code Wars, and I think Coding Game does it too. You can highlight multiple lines and then hit Control slash, which slashes are usually comments in a lot of languages, but we got the number sign in this one. You do Control slash and it'll comment multiple lines, so you can do that. And also, there's other things. Um, the multiple line comment in this is actually the triple apostrophe. Is that better? Yeah, triple apostrophe. See, and now that uncommented, so that commented everything following it. So we lost our dictionary. Then when I put the triple apostrophe here, it brought this back into scope. I mean, it now makes this code again. This now has its pretty colors, and it'll work. So actually, we can show that it'll work. So now, oops, see, I'm still in insert, escape. I thought I hit it. Anyways, save, clean it up, clear, and run it. Now we just have zebra. We don't have any of the other stuff mucking it up. Nothing else making it complicated. Yeah, and we're now over an hour and a half. And I think that's pretty good for beginning. Let's see, loops. We'll do part 2. We'll go into that in the next one. I'll go ahead and make a short video with that. But that's basically what you need to know to kind of follow along with the videos that I'm going to be presenting. Because you need to know Linux commands, basic Linux commands. Sorry. You need to know those to understand what's going on in Vim, especially. I'm probably not going to be using line numbers all the time. I mean, I might try to remember to do that, but if I don't, just remember you can always do that by set number. So if we got back in here, set none, no, set number, no. See, I don't even know. Set line, interesting. Well, I don't know how to take them off, so we'll have them on this one, and I'll probably be back real soon to do the next one because I'm anxious to get back to what we were doing last night, and that is doing some actual problem solving, some actual coding, stuff that I'm really excited about. But here's the basics. This is what you need to know. Um, and also, as you can see, I'm still calling the interpreter on that. So I might do it that way, or I might actually, try to keep adding this line to the beginning of all of my files to just do hello world and be able to run it the same. Or we can do the interpreter. Both of them work. So, and that's actually a good thing to point out about computer science. A lot of times there's multiple ways of doing something. So, just be prepared for that. Be aware that while you might learn how to do something, there are most definitely other ways to accomplish that same goal. It's just finding the most optimized, the fastest, the most efficient way of doing that. Um, that you need to. You can optimize everything, you know, till the cows come home, but you can actually overspend resources doing that. That's why I'm not super critical on, and why I say I'm not an expert, because there's a lot of code out there that does a lot of what I do in just like one little one-line zingers, which is impressive and useful. But like back in the day, they used to have to do that because computers could only have files that were so big because it was so hard to use files and information and all that. Now we've got computers in our pockets that can calculate all this stuff. You can play Minecraft on your phone. I mean, it does not matter. Like you can waste a couple extra lines. You can put extra comments. Doesn't matter. Especially it's better to do it to help other people that are using the code. I mean, like I would actually just take all this out, or since this is a tutorial, this is a tutorial file I'm leaving it in. But like for my final version of a program, I would take all this out if I wasn't using it. 'Cause I wouldn't want it unless I was planning on using it in the future. But even something like this is so trivial that I wouldn't mind ripping this out just to make it cleaner for people going in. Like, oh, okay, so this program it does some variables, it does a dictionary, and then it demonstrates printing a value based on a key in a dictionary. So, and if that's the main purpose of this, well, why do we have an if-else statement? That's, but we are trying to teach that, so we'll leave it in there. Also, the multi-line comment, which I hardly ever use. I really often use, and you'll see that with a lot of people's stuff. They'll just do this. In fact, let's do man echo. I thought man pages had a bunch of comments like that, which maybe they don't. But I'm used to seeing files with a ton of comments, like having like user information, creator information, stuff like that. Anyways, we've gone over. I apologize. So I'll go take a walk, go eat some more food. Kind of. It's good to clear the mind too. And then I'm gonna come back refreshed. We're gonna try to finish loops, and these are types of loops. So this is a loop. This is a loop. This is a loop. For while, do while. Again, another thing that doesn't exist in Python. I don't think that's other languages, but something to be aware of. And then functions and objects. So actually, objects. I'm not even really that familiar with them in Python. I mean, I could, but we'll go over it for sure. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.